What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why invading the UK is nearly impossible. So, here in America, we are very proud of our military and our defense, and we like to think that we could never be invaded here in the United States. But this video by Battle Hub claims that it is the UK that is almost impossible to invade. And today, I want to learn about why exactly that is. So let's take a look.
A country surrounded by water, rich with resources, and packed with history. Who wouldn't want to own a piece of it?
Oh my God, who wouldn't want to own a piece of the UK? I'm hoping this video is purely for educational purposes, not that anybody is actively trying to invade the UK, but according to this, it wouldn't even matter because you guys can't be invaded, and I see now one of those reasons is very obvious. It's the geographical structure of the UK, let's say. Without trying to make it too fancy, it's an island. It's a series of islands. And just by virtue of being surrounded by water, that's like the oldest defense in history, right? That's the oldest tactical defense in history. Just have nothing else bordering you on all sides. That makes a lot of sense to me off the bat, why the UK is specifically strategically positioned to be difficult to take over.
The Romans did it. The Normans pulled it off. But in modern times, not a chance. Plenty have tried, all have failed. And not just because they weren't good enough, because invading the UK is nearly impossible.
Okay, a lot of people have tried throughout history. I know a little bit about some of the history of the UK and some of the conflicts. Not a ton, here in America, in our history classes in school, we only learn so much and so far back about British history and all that, but apparently a lot of people have tried and failed.
The Spanish thought they could sail right in, only to get shredded by British cannons and the weather. Napoleon looked across the channel, thought about it, and basically said, yeah, I'll pass. Hitler actually put together a full invasion plan, named Operation Sea Lion. But even the German high command knew it was a long shot at best and national suicide at worst.
What? See, I didn't know about that stuff. Like Napoleon and Hitler and all these different wars and, all these different conflicts where a lot of nations thought about trying to attack or invade the UK, and the UK won that battle without even doing anything. Like the opposition literally just decided it's not worth it to even try to invade the UK. That's very powerful. That says a lot.
So why is it so hard? What makes this little island one of the toughest places on Earth to invade? Well, let's break it down. First up, the biggest and most obvious reason. The UK is a damn island.
That's funny. It's a damn island. Yeah, that's one way to put it. That's the first thing that came to my mind as well. It's an island. But the UK is close to a lot of other countries, Its position on the planet Earth is a little more perilous than the United States, you could say. We, of course, border, Mexico and Canada. Although historically, I don't feel like we've felt threatened by them in any serious capacity. mostly because we've just been friendly with those countries, which is great. The UK is friendly with most all the surrounding countries as well at this point in time. But in some crazy, weird hypothetical scenario where all the countries in the world are at war with each other and we're just being hypothetical and just thinking strategically, the UK is it's a damn island, as they put it in the video, which is really, really advantageous.
Might seem basic, but it changes everything. If you want to invade a country like France or Germany, you just roll your tanks over the border and boom, you're in. That's
Right.
how the Germans did it in World War II. But
Right.
the UK? Nope. No land borders, no highways to
Right.
blitzkrieg through. If
Right.
you want to get an army into Britain, you need to sail across water, and that's where the problems begin.
Yeah, that's huge. That's actually, I think that's one of the reasons, like, we like to feel safe in America, is it's like, yeah, we're not like an island. I mean, unless you want to like call North America a giant island. The continent that we're on is maybe an island, you could argue, but it is separate from a lot of other countries. I mean, sort of, relatively speaking, we'll say. So yeah, UK is an island, so you can only get there by plane or by boat. So that already makes it really difficult for tanks and ground assault vehicles and personnel to even get to the UK.
The English Channel isn't just a tiny river you can hop across. It's 21 miles of open water at its narrowest point.
Yeah.
And while that sounds short, barely a marathon, it might as well be 1,000 miles when you're trying to move hundreds of thousands of troops,
Yeah.
tanks, artillery, and supplies.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. It's been this way forever. Britain has been using the Channel as a natural defense barrier since before recorded history.
Of course.
Even in ancient times, Julius Caesar and the Romans had to plan for years just to pull off an invasion. And he had to do it twice, because the first time didn't go too well.
Huh.
Now add in the weather. If you've ever been to Britain, you know that the weather...
What is this clip they're using? What the heck? What is this video that they're using? Is this what average weather is like in the UK? Like torrential hurricane winds blowing the enemy ships away? I know the weather in the UK I've heard it can be rainy or mild, or it's got a unique climate, but it's not like a tornado all the time, right?
you know that the weather here is actively trying to ruin your day.
Don't ask me why. I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole. It's a fucking shithole.
Oh my God.
I fucking hate it.
It's completely unpredictable, with rain, storms, and wind that can turn the sea into a churning nightmare.
Okay. All right. I didn't quite know that.
The Spanish Armada found this out the hard way in 1588. They had 130 ships, thousands of men, and a plan to take England. But when they got to the Channel, storms and rough seas obliterated them.
Wow.
The British barely had to lift a finger. Nature did most of the work.
I didn't realize there's like a lot of history with the UK. People want the UK. Oh my God. A lot of people do. They try, and they actually get defeated before either they decide to give up before it even starts, or they just try to sail to the UK and get destroyed by the water and the weather. This is making a lot of sense to me. It's already like incredibly difficult to even get to the UK. Now, I would say in the modern day, like today, things have changed where you got like jets and drones and stuff like that, that's a whole different threat now by air.
The remnants of the Armada limped home, having achieved nothing. Even today, modern warships and transport vessels still have to account for bad weather. Storms can delay operations, rough seas can slow down ships, and fog can wreck visibility, making coordinated attacks almost impossible.
Wow.
So, before an invading force even gets to Britain, they're already dealing with some of the worst naval conditions on the planet. But let's
Wow.
say they somehow make it across. Now they have to deal with something even worse. Britain isn't just surrounded by water. It's surrounded by one of the most powerful navies on Earth. The Royal Navy has been a global force for centuries. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was the most powerful navy in history.
This I have heard about, that the UK is known for its navy. Throughout history, it's been known for its navy and its naval power. So finally, we're getting to like the UK's military force. The first line of defense is just the UK is surrounded by what it's like a castle with a moat, surrounded on all sides by water. That's really awesome. Just geographically, really advantageous place to defend. You got the natural defenses, and now the unnatural defenses, the man-made, unnatural warships defense. Yes.
Controlling trade routes and making sure nobody got close to the UK without permission. Today, it might be smaller, but it's still an absolute powerhouse.
Wow.
At the heart of the fleet are the Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers, massive
My
floating
God.
fortresses that carry squadrons
That's a good way to put it. That is a floating fortress.
of F-35 stealth fighters, some of the most advanced jets in the world. These carriers alone give Britain global reach, allowing them to strike enemies from hundreds of miles away.
Wow.
Then there are the submarines. The UK's Astute-class nuclear submarines are some of the stealthiest in the world. These things lurk under the waves, completely undetectable, tracking
Submarines. Never even thought about submarines. Haven't thought about submarines since I played Civilization 2 on PC or something, or whatever it's called. Anyway, Warcraft 2. You could make submarines. Haven't thought about submarines since the old gaming days. This is like just like a terrifying aspect of this hidden force underneath the water. That if you're, and you know, God forbid any of this ever even was necessary. This is all just hypothetical for fun. But if you try to invade the UK, you got all these like literal like death machines hiding under the water.
enemy ships without ever being seen. If an invasion fleet tries to cross the channel, you can bet that somewhere a British submarine is watching them. And the second they get close, torpedoes are going in the water.
my
And
God.
it's not just high-tech ships. The Royal Marines are trained specifically for defending coastlines and stopping amphibious invasions. These guys are some of the toughest soldiers in the world, trained to fight in the harshest conditions.
Oh,
and they would
wow.
love nothing more than to ruin an enemy's beach landing. By this
Yeah.
point, most invading forces would have taken catastrophic losses. But let's assume by some miracle an enemy fleet actually lands troops on British soil.
This is a cool video because it really is running through all the hypothetical situations here. Okay, let's argue and say somehow some other country was invading the UK and somehow got to the coast.
Now what? Bad news. Just because you made it across the water doesn't mean you get to keep breathing. The Royal Air Force is next
God.
in line to shut down your invasion before it even gets going. The UK has Eurofighter Typhoons, which are some of the fastest, deadliest fighter jets on the planet. These
Yeah.
things patrol the skies constantly, and the moment an enemy aircraft enters British airspace, they're getting locked onto.
Right, because you gotta think, like, in the UK, you guys have these military defense systems in place already. It would be another nation coming into foreign territory, not knowing exactly what they're going to deal with. The UK, I'm sure you have, like, all this stuff ready to go. All these jets and fighter jets and airplanes and defense systems, like, if anybody even ever got that close.
Then there's the Sky Saber missile defense system, which can track and intercept enemy missiles and aircraft with pinpoint accuracy. Even
Yeah.
long-range missile attacks are unlikely to succeed. Britain's air defense network is integrated with NATO's early warning systems.
Oh, wow.
Meaning, the second an invasion is detected, reinforcements from France, Germany, and the United States are likely already mobilizing.
Yes!
At this point, an invading force has lost most of its navy, most of its
That's a whole other, like, thing that we could factor in or not. Like, if someone tried to invade the UK has so many allies around the world that would come to help. That it basically seems like it would be, if you add that as well, it's impossible.
of of its aircraft and probably half its troops. But let's say somehow a foreign army is standing on British soil.
Okay.
What happens next?
All right.
The UK doesn't have the biggest army in the world, but what it does have is highly trained, highly professional soldiers. The
All right.
paratroopers, the Royal Marines, the legendary Gurkhas, and of course the
Okay.
SAS, some of the most elite forces on the planet. These guys train in every kind of warfare imaginable. Jungle combat? Check. Arctic
God.
warfare? Done. Urban fighting? They love it. But even if an enemy managed to land somewhere and establish a foothold, they now have to hold it. And that's where the real
Yeah.
problems start. The British people are not going to just roll over and accept occupation. The UK is a nation with a deep history of resistance. Even during World War II, when an invasion seemed possible, Churchill had a plan to turn Britain into a guerrilla warfare nightmare.
Wow.
We shall defend our
That's right. The UK has had to deal with stuff like this throughout history. Like this, the UK, like, and the people of the UK and the UK military have dealt with threats throughout history. So you also have that, like, knowledge already.
island, whatever the cost may be. We shall never surrender.
If it happened today, every town would become a battleground. And if things really got bad, the UK has nuclear weapons. The Trident submarine fleet is
Jeez.
always out there, ready to launch a retaliation strike.
So these are submarines floating around the UK with nuclear missiles in them. Is that right?
So, is there any way to actually pull off an invasion of the UK? Probably not, but let's entertain two possibilities. The first scenario would involve a massive surprise cyber attack, crippling the UK's communication systems, air defense, and power grid before a single shot is fired.
I'm glad they're talking about modern day stuff, because a lot of this video has been like, what would the UK do against a physical, like, naval assault or a ground assault? And I think the UK would be at a serious advantage with all that stuff. But we're in 2025. It's the modern day. Cyber attacks, stuff like that. Yes, that's probably even more realistic.
This would have to be coordinated with a naval and aerial assault using stealth aircraft, submarines, and long-range missiles to overwhelm British forces before they can fully mobilize. If London were effectively cut off and key military bases were neutralized, a fast-moving invasion force might try to establish control before the UK's allies could respond. But this plan relies on Britain doing absolutely nothing while the enemy prepares. Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
The second scenario is more unconventional, but possibly more effective. An internal takeover. Instead of a traditional military invasion, an enemy could exploit political divisions, economic weaknesses, and social unrest to destabilize the country from within. This could involve cyber warfare, propaganda campaigns, funding separatist movements, and even covert operations to weaken the government.
Wow.
Once the UK is in chaos, a foreign power could step in under the guise of peacekeeping, establishing influence without ever needing to land troops in force. But let's be real. Both of these scenarios are long shots. The UK's intelligence
Yeah, it's a bit dystopian to even think of that kind of stuff happening.
services are some of the best in the world, and its military isn't exactly sitting around waiting to get blindsided.
Yeah.
The truth is, invading Britain isn't just hard, it's damn near impossible. You'd have to fight the elements, outmaneuver one of the strongest navies in history, defeat a technologically advanced air force, and then somehow subdue an entire nation that historically hates being invaded. If you're thinking
Yeah.
about it, just don't. Seriously,
Just
just book a holiday instead. It's easier, cheaper, and nobody's going to drop a missile on your head.
Oh my god. This video was by Battle Hub. This was really good and funny, oddly, given the subject matter. If you're thinking about invading the UK, if that's been on your mind, just don't. Just don't do it. And joking aside, seriously, just don't do it, because I'm convinced after this video, it made a lot of great points. Of all the countries in the world, the UK is specifically positioned to have one of the greatest chances of, like, bringing up a defense against any attack. Like, just, you know, for a bunch of different reasons that we talked about here today. So that was really cool to learn about. You know, as Americans, we don't really think about other countries in this way. we think about like, oh, can America be invaded? What do we got to let's increase the military budget again and all this stuff. So it was cool to hear about the UK in this light, and it sounds like you guys have essentially nothing to worry about. So good for you guys. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on how invading the UK is basically impossible by the sound of it. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to the UK and learning about UK culture and seeing things from the UK I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.